Hey guys, how is it going? Welcome back to Gardening in Cold Spring Harbor. We are here in Long Island, New York, Zone 7A. We are with Julia over here today. Once again, we are inside, indoors, in our green room, you guys. We hope that all of you are healthy, happy, and doing well. Thank you for coming back to my channel. Thank you for watching this video. Again, guys, if you like today's video, click thumbs up, leave your comments below. And if you have not yet done so, subscribe to my channel, Gardening in Cold Spring Harbor. All you have to do is go below this video and click the subscribe button so you will always get notifications whenever I upload a new gardening video. So today we are going to talk all about dahlias. Yes, dahlias, and more dahlia flowers. We are going to talk to you all about planting, growing, and taking care of dahlia flowers. So dahlia derived its name from a Swedish botanist named Anders Dahl, and it's actually native to Mexico and Central America. So dahlia flower grows from something called a tuber, which I am holding right over here. And an interesting fact about dahlia is that both the dahlia flowers and the tubers are both edible, guys. Yes, that might sound a bit gross to some of you, but the tubers, when cleaned, they're actually also edible. And the taste is something like a cross between a radish and a potato. So to grow a healthy dahlia flower, it is very, very important to start with a tuber that has an eye or a bud growth on the crown of the stem. If the crown of the stem does not have at least one eye or a bud growth, you will not be able to successfully grow your dahlia flowers. So here I have some of my dahlia tubers. They're all different shapes. They're all different sizes, but I just wanted to show you guys what an eye is. What is that bud growth that I'm talking about? Well, here you can clearly see the eye. So this growth that's coming out of the crown of the stem is your eye. In this larger tuber, you can also see the eye or this bud growth also stemming out of the crown. Here's another one. Eye. So once you decided to grow dahlia, the first thing you need to do is get your dahlia tubers. So whether you are storing your dahlia tubers from your previous growing years, or you decided to go to your local nursery and or garden center and maybe purchase some new tubers of different colors and different varieties. Always make sure that the tubers you will be planting are 1, firm, and 2, do not have any signs of mold and or rot on them. So dahlias are purchased as either a single tuber, here's an example, very clear example, 1 tuber, or as a clump of tubers around the stem. So smaller quantities of your tubers, such as 5, 10, 20, they're usually sold in a bag, whether it's a clear bag like this one or a paper bag. And it's almost always packed with either shredded paper, peat moss, or cedar chips. Dahlia tubers can be planted outside as soon as the danger of the last frost has passed. Dahlia prefers a sunny, well-drained garden location with the soil pH level of 6 through 7.5. So if you're planting your tubers directly into the soil, make sure you plant them at least 5 to 6 inches deep. And Dahlia does not tolerate cooler, cold soil, guys. Your soil temperature has to be at least 60 degrees Fahrenheit or 15 degrees Celsius. So the good rule of thumb that I like to use when planting my Dahlia is plant your tubers a few days after you plant your tomatoes outdoors. So Dahlias are sun-loving plants or flowers. They need at least 6 hours of sunlight, full sunlight per day. Also, this plant is a perennial in zones 8 through 11. For the zones with cooler, colder climates, these are annuals and they need to be dug up and stored in the cold winter months. So again, Dahlia is a flower that grows from a tuber, which is very similar to a bulb, except it is very thin-skinned like a potato. So when do you plant your Dahlia tubers? You plant them after the last threat of the last frost date. If you live in a colder climate, like I do, I live here in zone 7A in Long Island, New York, we start planting our Dahlia tubers inside, indoors, in our green rooms 4 to 6 weeks before our anticipated last frost date. So for this year, our anticipated last frost date is April the 15th. So how do you pot your Dahlia tubers inside, indoors, whether it's in your green room or maybe your kitchen? You basically take a pot. I like to use 1 gallon sized plastic pot with drainage holes on the bottom. You fill it up with a organic potting soil, and you take 1 clump of your tubers. So it's 1 clump per 1 gallon sized pot. You place it on top of your soil and then you cover it up with more of your organic potting soil. And then you place your pots in a warm, sunny place until you're ready to transplant your Dahlia outside in your garden. So your newly planted tubers should receive as little water as possible. Yes, guys, as little water as possible until they have sprouted and are showing active growth. So I wanted to share a very important advice when you're planting your Dahlia tubers. Do not select soil which has high levels of nitrogen fertilizer. Good examples of those are either Miracle-Gro and or compost. If you're using soil with high levels of nitrogen fertilizer, you are risking burning and or rotting your Dahlia tubers. Some of you might be wondering, how long do you have to wait to see these gorgeous, gorgeous flowers after you plant your tubers in your garden? Well, dahlias begin to bloom roughly 8 weeks after you plant them. So after you transplanted your dahlias into your garden, you have to make sure to keep them damp and well watered for at least 1 week until your roots get established. Another important rule is you never, ever use mulch. You do not apply mulch to your soil, as dahlias prefer sun on their roots, and mulch encourages slugs. And no one wants to see slugs on their beautiful flowers. So regardless of the color and of the variety of your dahlia flowers have hollow stems that are very susceptible to breaking in either the rain or the wind. If the dahlia variety that you are growing in your garden is 3 feet or taller, be prepared to give your plant support. Yes, in the event of rain or wind, dahlia is prone to damage and or breakage. So you might have to use either cages or stakes to support your tall, beautiful flowers. So regardless of the zone in which you live, many gardeners prefer to treat dahlias as an annual flower. So what does that mean? That means that after the first frost date, they come out to their gardens, they cut off all of the dead, dry, leaf and stem debris. They dig up their tubers and they safely store them over the cold months. So when you just purchased your tubers, it is easy to tell which ones are which, as they all are clearly labeled and have bright, beautiful pictures on the packaging. But when you dig up your tubers, mark my word, guys, they all look exactly the same. So make sure your plant is clearly labeled, as you will need to know which tubers are which. So once you dig them up, prepare those labels, guys, for each of your dahlia varieties. So after your first frost date, you can come out to your garden and cut stems to roughly 4 inches above the ground level. If possible, you want to wait a week before digging them up. Why? Because this gives your tubers the time to start entering dormancy phase, you guys. Start digging very carefully, roughly 10 to 12 inches around out of your stem. And then gently, very gently, lift your tubers out of the soil, as yes, they are very fragile. And allow your whole tubers clump, so the whole thing, to air dry for a few days. Yes, guys, after you clean up the dirt and all the debris from your tubers, make sure you allow your tubers to air dry for at least a few days. Why? Because this will allow your tubers to toughen their skin and get ready for winter storage. So your tubers, your dahlia tubers, may be stored in either paper bags, boxes, or even packed into crates filled with sand, sawdust, and what I prefer to use is vermiculite. If you guys have never heard of vermiculite, I do have a video on my channel where I talk all about vermiculite, what it is, and how to use it. So then once you pack your tubers, you have to store them in a dark, cool place, preferably with air temperatures of 40 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit. And remember, check on your tubers monthly, you guys. Yes. Why? Because you want to make sure that, one, they're not too wet, meaning they're not rotting, or two, they're not getting too dry or getting all wrinkly. You want to see them, that fullness of your tubers. The more you cut dahlias, the more they bloom, you guys. So if you want to see more of these gorgeous, large buds and flowers, keep cutting your flowers. Keep deadheading your plant. So if you see that your flowers have either browned, dried out, basically are done blooming, cut that dead flower off. This will push your dahlia plant to produce more beautiful flower buds for you. So another interesting fact about dahlia flowers is that they have a very, very extended, long vase life. So if you cut your dahlia flowers and you place them in a cooler location in your home, away from direct sunlight, and keep the water inside your vase always clean, the vase life of your dahlia plant is around 7 days, you guys. You can enjoy the beautiful blooms for up to 7 days inside your home. Don't forget that dahlia tubers, come in all shapes and all sizes. So if your dahlia tuber that you grew from previous seasons, or maybe you purchased a brand new tuber and it's very, very large, there is a way, guys. There is a way to cut and or separate your large, abundant tubers. However, if your tuber is a single tuber, you never, ever cut or split it or break this tuber, as it will never grow for you again. So the separating and or cutting only applies to larger, more abundant tubers. So this is it for this video, you guys. We spoke all about planting, growing, and taking care of our dahlia tubers. I hope that I was able to give you enough important, useful, proven information about these beautiful flowers. Again, guys, thank you for joining me here today in Long Island, New York, Zone 7A. So again, guys, if you liked watching this video, if you thought this video was informative and useful, click thumbs up, leave your comments below. Tell me all about your gardens. Do you grow dahlias? If you do, which varieties do you prefer to grow? Which have been more successful and or less successful in your home garden? Subscribe to my channel, Gardening in Cold Spring Harbor, and stay healthy, happy, and be well. And I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye.